Okay, so the meeting is being recorded now. Great. All right. Welcome everyone. I think at this point it would be good for me to start the slide show. I mean, it encapsulates everything I'm going to talk about today, both from introduction, to every single thing. And this session promises to be an interactive one, hopefully, as long as you interact. But I will be calling on your attention once in a while just to, connect and, interact basically and drop your feedback and let everybody connect and hear from you. Interact basically and drop your feedback and let everybody connect and hear from you. Hello.
Yes, I allow it. I can hear you.
Yeah, I was getting feedback.
Sorry apologies about that.
All right, I thought it was from my end. So hi, Tommy from Port Harcourt. Hi, Samuel from Ghana. How do you greet people in Ghana now? Is it Akwaba? Okay. All right. Yeah. So let me just go ahead and share my slide. But I have to share my screen first. So. I think I share my whole desktop then. No. Okay. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Please favor, let me know if you can see my screen. Great. Great. All right. Thanks. Okay. So I'll just start the presentation. Also, let me know if you can see the presentation as well. Can you see it? Oh, okay. Great.
Yes.
All right. Okay, let's just dive into it. Our topic today really is around adopting project management concepts in product development. And like Favor said, there are times when we would misplace those two words. But I'll try my best not to, because they literally sound almost alike. They end with the last two words, the last two letters, and start with the first three letters. So the possibility of misplacing those two words are very, very high, but I will do my best to keep them in check. And so we're just going to understand the basic concepts, and the application in product development, product management, as you would call it. Yeah, so this is going to be a very, very simple, class, in quotes, just for everyone to take a very relaxed state of mind and open your mind to hear and understand what I'm saying. It's not really about what I'm saying, but what you were able to get from what I'm saying. So I really, really appreciate feedback as well, just like I said, so that we're on the same page. I'll also try my best to keep to time, because I would say the slides are quite a lot, but I mean, I'll try my best to breeze through it. So this is basic stuff. We're not going into anything technical. So if you are like 6 years old or 7 years old, you will also be able to understand this. Right. So, okay, let's go into it. Okay. So basically, this is the content for today. Facilitator introduction. I'll share the key learning objectives. I will talk about project management versus product management. You see how I'm trying my best to say it carefully so that I don't miss it. And then we'll talk about identifying waterfall, lean, and agile principles. Talk about the Scrum framework, the Kanban framework, the Scaled Agile framework, and then project management tools. Bear it in mind, there are certain aspects of this slide that have been locked until the next class because this is going to be a two-part event. So once I start talking about a topic and then we'll go into the next slide and you see a padlock there, then we have to meet in the next class. All right. So yeah, let's just go into it. Okay, so about me, my name is Wale Ajiboye. I think Favor has introduced me to everyone. I mean, he did a good job. But who am I really? I graduated from Covenant University. I did civil engineering, and yeah, you can say I have an engineering background, right? But after I left school, like I didn't practice um, engineering, whatever kind, right? I just started learning about, product development, software development, because mainly during my time in school, I was doing some form of product development with some guys who could write code in school at the time. And so that was where my interest kind of drawn towards, processes for developing digital products and all of that. So it was something I enjoyed doing. I think sometimes we had to leave school to go out and market this software that we've built and all of that. So yeah, I have a couple of Agile certifications, Scaled Agile, SFC, a lot of classes, products management stuff, really. I started doing product management, but I only did it for like 1 year. And then I realized that, oh, that was not my strong suit. So I had to find something that, kind of suited my personality much more. And that was being a Scrum Master, or that is being a Scrum Master. And yeah, I've been doing that ever since I left school, really. Not a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer, but you get what I mean. So I've worked with a lot of teams in the fintech space, from First Bank to what's the name of these guys? I've forgotten them. Okay, to ACA Payments and to NIBS, Nigeria Interbank Settlement Systems. I've worked with Polaris. I've worked with, all of them are really in the fintech space. And so for me, it's like a point to actually break out of that. I know that it can be very, very complex because of payment systems, regulations, and all of that. But hey, that's my experience, and I'm willing to share what I have with you. So yeah, that really constitutes the team that I've worked with. And I also have this community called Scrum Master Africa that I am just building. I think we started in April, 1st of April. And so we now have like 300 members now, I think as of yesterday. So yeah, it's growing. I'm trying to help other people, which is something that everybody should do if they do have some sort of value or anything to add. Then for my hobby, I like swimming. I like table tennis. I'm pretty good at it. And also I like traveling a lot. Traveling is fun. You get to see people, new places, experience things and all of that. Okay, so let's go into the next slide. I don't know why anytime I click my left button, it doesn't, I have to touch the screen. It's all right. I'll cope. Okay, so the key learning objectives, and this is not just for this session. This is for both sessions, this and the next one. The goal is to be able to outline the different key project management methodologies and their frameworks. I'll be really touching heavy on that. Then identifying project management tools and processes, the ones that are useful to product managers, of course. Then to list some project management tools and their differences. Okay, so let's dive into it. Project management versus product management. So yeah, so we have our first poll. Basically, You can just scan this, and once you scan it, you'll be able to share feedback on this slide that I have here in real time. So I would like us to answer this question. When you think of product management, what comes to your mind? So I think Favor might help us to share the link in the chat. So instead of scanning, you can just click directly and you would access this page. All right. So when you think of product management, what comes to your mind? So I'm also looking at my time, trying to make sure that I am not exiting time. So let's drop our feedback, and let's try to make it as quick as possible so that we can touch a lot of things before it ends. I can see two participants are typing. Okay, so we have our first one, mobile apps, product management. Interesting, not bad. Let's hear from others. Let's hear from at least 5 people. Development. Wait, let me see. Can I isolate each of these? Okay. Samuel from. Okay.
I think the survey there is skewed. So maybe just limit it to about 2-3 words, guys. Just 2 words or so.
Okay. Wow. This is tough for me. Let me see how good I can break these things down. All right. Mobile apps, product design, development, and market penetration. That's interesting. Market penetration. So that's kind of adding product marketing into it. Interesting. So mobile apps development, building digital products, shipping, adoption, product cycle, managing a product or service from conception to actualization. Interesting, yes. Product design, development, and market penetration. Okay, I've talked about that. The process of moving products from markets. Oh my God. Anyway, I get it. The last one is managing a product from birth to the deployment and modification. So thanks everyone who has contributed. Absolutely. These are keywords that when you're talking about product management, you're not going to skip. Shipping, for example, development, products, process, creating products, mobile apps, and the likes. So let's move on to the next slide then. So before you talk about product management or project management, I think it's important for us to understand what the two are. So let's just start with the product. A product is anything that can be offered to a market to solve a problem or to satisfy a want or a need. And so the products have a cycle that consists of different stages, right? Just like somebody put in the comment earlier, the birth, conceiving, the development, and when you actually introduce this product to be managed by, to be used rather by people who are target audience. And then the product is retired when the need for it diminishes, of course. If you know about Google, they have something we call Google Graveyard, where they have products that they've actually retired. So these products, they paid money to buy them, but after a while, I don't know, I think they just took the juice out of it and then used it in some other product and then dumped the thing down. So a product is like a service offering, right? But the second one here is a project, right? A project is a temporary endeavor that is undertaken to create a unique product or service. So an endeavor could be like a foray into something, or like traveling, for example. Traveling is a temporary endeavor. You have to travel. Like I said, I like traveling a lot. So when I travel, I don't travel and stay there. I travel and I come back. So it's a temporary endeavor. And basically, whatever it is you're doing within that temporary endeavor is it's geared towards execution, and in a certain light is a clear definition of what needs to be delivered or what needs to be done, and then it also has a time frame, right? And like it's broken down. There's this structure, but the main keyword here is the fact that it is a foray, like it's a temporary endeavor. So, for example, we can say we have a project, we want to construct a road. After we construct the road, we leave and we go. So, the act of doing that itself or creating that temporary endeavor is called project. It's called what you know as a project, right? So, yeah, just like products are developed by product teams, we also have project teams as well. And then there's this whole hierarchy in terms of, project management, program management, and, the project management office and all of that. But these are two keywords that, we should know about. And like I said, this class is really just about understanding these keywords, understanding concepts, and then seeing how we can apply that to, what we have in real life. Okay. So what type of project management methodologies do you know about? So just quickly sign in. I think it's the same link. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it's the same link. Just drop, and please just drop only one word. Don't drop more than one because it scrambles everything. So just tell me what type of project management methodologies do you know about, or what have you heard about? Just drop one, and then we take off from there. Okay. Just checking the chat. Samuel says Akwaaba is fine. Hi, Chinua. All right. So the chat has been, the link to this has been dropped. So let me just hear feedback from at least 2-3 people. Okay, waterfall, agile, nice. Who else wants to add? Let's just hear one more and then we'll take off from there. Waterfall, lean, nice, nice. Okay, so thank you very much. Very true, very correct. I see a lot of people have done a lot of these things outside here, right? All right, so let's move on. Okay, so product management is an organizational function within a company that deals with the planning, forecasting, and production or marketing of a product or products at all stages of the product life cycle. So basically, product management is very much product focused in terms of the execution, in terms of the functionalities, the planning, the marketing. This is something that is very skill intensive. That is, as a product manager, there's certain sets of skills that you should have to be able to do product management, right? And then project management, on the other hand, consists of the application of processes. So the keyword here is processes, right? So they are set processes that enable product management. So you can say more or less that project management is an enabler of product management in very, very clear terms. And so like I just said, project management consists of the application of these processes, methods, knowledge, skills, and experience to achieve the objectives. So the goal for project management is the objectives, set objectives. But for product management, it's more about the product lifecycle and how that product will do, when it drops in the market, because project management doesn't really so much dwell on that. But yeah, let's move on. Okay, so these are the differences. Like I said, they are interwoven in a way. But for product management, we have product vision, competitive analysis. You think about the customer needs. You need to do research for the customers you're building for. You need a user journey. right? Because you're building for users. You need to have a roadmap. This same thing actually is in project management. We have project roadmaps too, but particular to product management, when you're talking about the features, you need to be very, very, very specific about when you want each feature to be developed. So you also have feature mapping. You care about user experience, and you have KPIs as well. Everybody has KPIs, right? So let's move into project management side. Delivery model. How do you want this project to be delivered? You know, who are the people you are delivering it to? Is it customers or is it businesses? And, you know, what is the implementation plan if you want to have people come to use your product? Then you talk about the scope, the timeline of the project, the task management, financials, all this. There are certain things here that doesn't concern product management, you know, in terms of financials, like if you have money to pay the devs that work for you, that's not the business of product management, but it's a burden that project management needs to bear. They talk about resource management as well, you know, progress and status of the project, you know, issue tracking, vendor management. Like I said, there are people that you're going to be delivering this project to. Right. And I think the class of people is what makes it different from product management. And so at the center of the two, merging the two, what you find on both sides is release planning, which is where you deliver what you are building, whether it's a product or whether it's a project. Stakeholder management, you know, the people who are your stakeholders that you need to talk to. Backlog management, and then you have a communications plan. All right, let's not spend too much time here. So we're going straight into, you know, identifying lean and agile principles, and we're going to start with lean. So lean is a set of management practices. If you hear lean anywhere, this is what it means in simple and clear terms. Like I said, we're doing this on a very, 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 very simple level. So lean is a set of management practices designed to remove waste and to improve efficiency and productivity. So the goal is to remove waste, to improve efficiency, and to improve productivity. So, lean defines waste as anything that doesn't add value to your customer, right? And so these are the principles which I will explain now. The first one is for you to define value. You must understand what value you are trying to add, right? You must clearly define what value you are trying to add. Whatever it is you're building, you must understand in clear details what it is. You have to be very precise. And then the next one says you have to establish value stream. And this is in line with project management as a whole, because you must understand from start to finish every single component that must be involved in that project for you to be able to deliver on the objective and the goals. So those are your value streams, right? Then you must be able to enhance flow of value that you have identified. You must be able to enhance flow. People must be able to get this value. So, which means you have to clear out impediments and blockers and things that will not allow your value stream, basically cutting out bottlenecks, removing anything that will prevent your work from going smoothly. Then moving on, the fourth principle is called pull. And this principle is very interesting because it basically emphasizes you delivering value based on customer need. So it's like you have a supermarket and then you put goods there where people can, buy. And so what Lean tries to tell you is that you do not put products out there unless there's demand for it. Or you do it in such a way that you're not putting so much out there because you are increasing output, but then you don't have demand. So you are trying to balance demand with supply when you're talking about this pull. right? So that's what that talks about. And then the last one, continuous improvement. Basically, very simple. The idea that every time you are doing work, every time you are developing something, you must constantly strive to improve daily, whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly, but you must make sure that at the end of everything that you're doing, you're constantly improving. And then when you do that, you move to the next stage, which is defining value. So you just go round and round and round again. And if you're able to do that, you are being lean, basically. That's it. So let's move on to the next one. There are 8 lean types of waste. And if you want to remember those kind of waste, this acronym, which is called downtime, and help you remember them. The first one is defects. Of course, in a production line, when you're building stuff, there's the chance that, certain things will, not come out as they have planned. Maybe some biscuits came out empty, or something you're developing, has like bugs, right? The goal is to remove these kind of things. And like I said earlier, this waste will cost you ultimately. The more you leave this waste in your system, the more you pay for them later. The second one speaks to overproduction, which was what I was talking about when it comes to pool. You don't just put things out there just like that. You try to balance the amount of people who are depending on you for something with what you have. So also waiting time, reducing waiting time. You should not waste time. Time is something that's very important that has to be eliminated. That is wasting time, really. The next one is non-utilized talent. As it implies, you need to make sure that you're efficiently using every single resource that you have to make a project work. The next one is transportation. You must be able to understand and cut down on any excesses that has to do with, logistics of whatever it is you're building, and make sure that you're using the most lean and optimal approach to getting things done. The next one is inventory. For whatever process that you want to take, whatever aspect of what you want to do that you're going to, go into, you must make sure that you keep an inventory. And in software development, this kind of translates to documentation, so that every time, at every single point in time, it's very, very clear what needs to be done. It's very, very clear what you have. Then the last one is motion and extra processing. Like I said, you must be very, very careful not to allow waste in your system. You must be very careful to check in all the aspects of whatever it is that you're building, whatever project it is that you're going to execute. You must be very, very careful not to allow any single kind of waste process that would induce or cause waste. So let's move on. Can we mention 5 lean principles, but just mention one each? So just log into, just like we did earlier, and let's move on from this. So it's time for our poll. Mention 5 lean principles. So I just talked about them now. Let's see how good recollection is. I think at the next, okay, maybe I should even give, I should give gifts. Okay. Establish value stream. Favor, is there a way to know who has dropped what comments?
No, at the moment, no. Except we are trying to do the other approach, which is
How do I do giveaways now?
we can do a fastest finger maybe towards the end of the session.
Okay,
based on
okay.
everything we learned. We'll do a fastest finger towards the end of the session.
All right. All right, thanks. Okay, so establish value stream, define value.
So if you are having issues with joining Slido, I think you can also try to just drop it on the chat if you're having issues with joining Slido.
Yeah, so we can try and solve the problem. Okay. Okay, so I think we can stop here. So very well, defining value, establishing value stream, just like was said here, continuous improvement, flow, and pull. All right. So please, yeah, eliminating waste. Look out for the next. Okay, you know what? Just like let's just stick with what Favor said, but there's something towards the end. All right, moving on. So let's start with waterfall, right? This is also an agile, sorry, it's also a project management methodology. So let me just read it out here as I've written here. The waterfall model is a breakdown of project activities into a linear sequence or a linear sequential phase, where each phase depends on the deliverables of the previous one and corresponds to a specialization of tasks. And so he says that this approach is typical for certain areas of engineering design. So let me just explain it. Basically, this is a breakdown, a linear breakdown of a project, you know, the stages, right, into phases. The first one is requirement, the second one is design, the third one development, the fourth one testing, deployment, and then maintenance. Of course, this is I think when I was in secondary school, this was what they shared to us as, you know, software development lifecycle. At the time, agile methods had not really been popular in this side of the world, but I think that was also around the time that people had started working on a new way of doing software development. So this, putting this in building, for example, it will make a lot of sense. You're constructing a project, you do requirements, you do the design, your architect works on it, you know, and then building work starts. You might not really need to test because, you know, it's building, but I'm sure that when you are, because I did civil engineering, I know that when you are building stuff, any block of concrete that you use, you must test for the concrete strength. Yeah, I think it's this strength of materials cost like this. Yeah. So yes, so I mean, this would make sense. Deployment when you launch it, and then, you know, maintenance, building maintenance. This would make perfect sense if you are doing like a normal project that has to do with building. But when it comes to software development, it cannot work, right? And I'll explain later in the next slide. Imagine having to develop Facebook, for example. You designed it. After you waited for design, you went to develop it. And then they are done developing a software. The whole bulk application or web application as it stands. And then you now want to test it. You now start testing it and you realize that you have a lot of bugs and issues and things you need to fix. Now, what's going to happen is that you won't be able to go to the next stage, which is deployment. You have to go back to development. And unfortunately, you developed in a bulk way, like you finished, in quotes, you claim that you finished it. So it will be difficult for you to test because there's so many parts, so many moving parts. And so you have to be you will be very sad, and you will not be able to get to the market on time because of this kind of approach. And this is what has been done in the past, you know, but yeah, that's waterfall in a nutshell. Let's move on to agile, and then I will explain the relevance of waterfall and agile. Right. Next slide. Agile. What is agile? Agile simply means continuous incremental improvement through small and frequent releases. The term agile is most commonly associated with software development as a project management methodology. Very, very simply put. Basically, the difference between agile, you can see that they all have different faces, right? They are almost the same, but the difference is this: small and frequent releases. So if you are able to build and deploy in small and frequent releases, you'll be able to identify bugs faster than when you build as a bulk and you now want to test as a bulk. You will not be able to adapt and you'll not be able to go to market fast. And so when you build small and frequent, releases, it makes sense because, first of all, you get to the market fast, which is something that product managers always like to rave about. You get to the market fast. You're able to get feedback from the customers when you get to the market. At the same time, you're able to build quality because the smaller you build, the more you are able to inspect what it is that you have built. And that's the beauty of it all. That's the beauty of Agile. Small, frequent releases without foregoing value, without foregoing quality, and without wasting time. So Lean and Agile also is big on not wasting time and not wasting anything, eliminating waste, really. So yeah, that's Agile. And so that's the relationship between Agile and Waterfall. Waterfall waits for everything to be built before moving to the next stage. But Agile tries to do small and frequent releases. Let's move on. And so Agile in software development, it's basically a set of practices that is intended to improve the effectiveness of software development. So the truth is that unlike building software, for building, you have to wait for one stage to be completed before you go to the next one. So you can't build the 17th floor before you do foundation. Fortunately, in software development, you can do that because of how software development, works. You can actually build the last part of your software, before you build the first part of it. You can decouple it like that. So there are certain values that Agile stands to put in one's mind, because it's really a change in mindset. Being Waterfall and being Agile is a change in mindset, right? So what are Agile values that we have? Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So this is them telling you in your mind now, change your mind. Going forward, individuals and interactions should be emphasized more than processes and tools. This doesn't mean that you should throw away processes and tools, but it should. It will help you better if you're going Agile, if you emphasize on individuals and interactions more than you do that on processes and tools. Same thing goes to working software over comprehensive documentation, which is the second one. And like I said, you're just emphasizing one over the other one. Documentation is important. But what is more important is the value that you're adding to the customer. Does it work? Can they use it? Can it help them to achieve anything? The next one is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. You should emphasize working directly with your customer and solving their problem faster than having some written documentation somewhere or some process that they have to follow that will take a lot of time. It still talks to eliminating waste. And so it's very important to get feedback from your customers with time. This is something that product managers often emphasize: customer feedback, customer collaboration. The next one speaks to responding to change over following the plan, which means that at the beginning, when you set out to do something, you have a plan. But in the middle of the plan, something bad could happen. And how do you respond to it? Are you going to continue following the plan, or are you going to quickly respond and quickly adapt to it and quickly find the next best alternative or the next possible route to make sure that you're able to solve, what you're trying to solve or execute what you're trying to execute. So it's basically a set of, mindsets and a set of practices, a set of thoughts or thinking systems or thinking methods that one needs to embrace if you want to claim that you're agile, if you want to be able to deliver value, like I said earlier, and continuously improve. Moving on to the next slide. There are 12 agile principles, especially in software development. I think it's something that product managers should take note of because this is very useful. First one is to ensure that your customer is satisfied. Second thing is to be able to adapt to changing requirements. The third thing is that you must be able to deliver fast, deliver frequently. You must be able to deliver frequently. Every week, if it's possible to deploy something to your customers, then do it. So it helps you in that customer satisfaction and feedback process. Then the next one is to be able to communicate regularly. You must be able to communicate constantly, and you must be open. Then you must be able to support your team members because you are a team and you are working together. There's emphasis on face-to-face communication. You must be able to measure the work that's in progress. You must be able to own that development process. There should be a process for developing what you're doing. Then you must have good design. You must be able to measure progress, like I said earlier, measure work progress, measure progress. I think the difference in these two is particularly talking about progress on a very small level. So if you're talking about one item, how much progress have you been able to make on that particular item? And then as a whole, how much progress have you been able to make generally? And so the next one is continue seeking results. You have to continue looking for results. You must be driven by getting results and getting things done. Next one is the fact that you have to reflect and adjust regularly, which is basically continuous improvement. It speaks to you being able to reevaluate everything that you have done and being able to move forward after getting good insight into how the things you did before could be improved. So basically reflecting and then adjusting to what you have reflected on. Moving on to the next slide. Scrum framework. So Scrum is also one of the agile frameworks. Unfortunately, there's a padlock on this one, and we'll talk about it in the next class. Right. So it's also one of the it's also one of the agile frameworks. So there are lots of frameworks in agile. We have Scrum, Kanban, Scaled Agile. People regard Lean as an agile framework, but it depends on how you see it. There's Spotify Agile. Spotify as a company came together and they created a process that would help their delivery of value improve drastically. And so it's now like an agile framework that other companies use. So wherever you are, even as a project manager or a Scrum Master, you can come up with your own framework. Remember that the whole idea of agile is to be able to adapt to your specific environment, the one that is peculiar to your own case. So you must be able to understand what works for you, and you can either adapt one or you can even mix more than one. So the whole idea is for you to create something that suits your particular situation. All right, so we won't talk about Scrum today till the next class, but we'll talk about Kanban framework today, and I would really speak a lot on it. There's a lot of value for us to gain here today. I'm really excited to talk and excited to get feedback from everyone too as well. So let's dive into it. What is Kanban? So Kanban is a Japanese word, which means visual board or visual sign or a signal, basically, a way for you to visualize and to see what is going on, right? And so the Japanese word Kanban has been used in the sense of a process definition since the 1950s. It was first developed and applied by Toyota as a scheduling system for just-in-time manufacturing. And the person who created this framework is called Taiichi Ohno. He's a Japanese guy who works at Toyota. And so, like I said, this is how these things come about. You come in thinking about your current situation where you work and developing a process that can help eliminate waste, that can help you to be very efficient in what you're doing. So it's a scheduling system. Basically, what is a scheduling system? I will show you in the next slide. It's basically a visual board where you can have work items that are moving from one stage to another stage. And the funny thing is that Scrum actually copied something from this particular framework, not just one thing, I think like two other things from this framework, right? And so it still goes on to tell you that it's all about creating something that works for you and finding that process that suits you and solves your problem. And so Toyota was plagued with the problem of the Second World War, I think, yes. They had limited resources, so that was the problem they were faced with. Because of the war, they had limited resources, so they had to think of a way that they can manage, eliminate waste, and also meet up with, you know, the American automobile producers at the time. And so people now capitalized on this particular word called Kanban to create the Kanban methodology, right? But it wasn't something really clearly defined at the time in the 1950s up until 2007, where people now started to understand, right? People were able to define it and, you know, use it properly, right? So there are two keywords here: scheduling system and just-in-time manufacturing. Scheduling system, I explained that very, very clear, something that helps you to pull in work items from one stage to another stage. And then just-in-time manufacturing is basically being able to eliminate time wastage and being able to provide to the people that exactly want what you are building. So you are balancing demand and supply, just like I said earlier. So yeah, basically there are two principles in Kanban that, you know, kind of explains further what we are trying to talk about today. We have change management, and then we have service delivery. Change management is something that I'm sure that we would have heard about in passing if you've read documents, but or articles or things that have to do with product management. It's basically a way for you to create, for you to add value, basically incrementally. How do you do that? By developing and shipping out product and then shipping out newer versions of that product. So that's where change management comes into play, right? And then service delivery is where you go ahead and, you know, provide services, focusing on, you know, customer needs. So let me just speak quickly to them. For change management, basically, you have to start with what you do at the moment. You have to agree to pursue incremental change. Like I said, it's all about creating new versions of what you have. And then encouraging active leadership at all levels. So on the service delivery side, you have to focus on customer needs and expectation because it is service delivery, right? You must be able to manage the work and not the workers, because people are very hard to manage. People as a term is something that, like I said, when we're talking about being agile, you have to focus on customer collaboration, the people that are working on something more than the work that they're doing. Do you get? So you're not supposed to manage the workers, you're supposed to manage the work, right? If the process is not working well, then you would have issues. So it's about the process, not necessarily the people executing them at this point. Then you should regularly review the network of your services. So if you are providing value, for example, iPhone produces, Apple produces iPhone, right? So there are certain components in an iPhone that is not produced by Apple. At some time earlier, they weren't producing their chips. They weren't produced, even up to now, I don't think they produce their screens as well. You must understand the value streams and the networks of services that you are using to make sure that you are providing value. So you have to regularly review them. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Please, if you have any question while we're at it, you can drop questions in the chat. I'll try to answer them as fast as they're coming. Okay, so moving on. Like I said earlier, Kanban is popular since 2007, where things were clearly defined. Is a lean workflow management method. People have now said, okay, it's based on lean, it's this and it's that. But I mean, we're talking about 1950s now. So it helps you to visualize work, to maximize efficiency, to improve continuously or to continuously improve, and to deliver knowledge, improving services, being able to solve problems by carefully and clearly managing the pull and push process. All right, so this is an example of a Kanban board, right? Work is represented on Kanban boards, and it allows you to optimize work delivery across multiple teams. So for a team, for example, you can have 2 teams on a Kanban board. You can have a Kanban board for only 1 team. It depends on how you want to do it. The main point is that you're trying to make sure that you're able to place in a single place where everybody can see what is going on. So let's start with the things that are highlighted here. The first thing here is called swim lane. Or let me start from the top. The first one here is work in progress limit, or WIP limit. Basically, the idea in Kanban is if you have too many work items on a particular column, then you would have issues somewhere. You're not supposed to have too much work in progress on one column. If you're having too much in one column, it means that there's a problem or there's a bottleneck. There's something that's not allowing it to go. It's like in an assembly line when you are trying to ship out. Maybe they are trying to produce biscuits, for example, now. And then there's a stage where you fill in the biscuits into the nylon, and there's a stage where you close back the nylon. Unfortunately, you're not able to close back the nylon. So everything, there are many biscuits stuck in that particular stage. When you have a lot of things stuck in one page, it helps you to identify the fact that you need to close you need to close out an issue in that particular swim lane, in that particular column rather. So the next one we have here is column. And so that speaks to one particular column, maybe for example, one stage requested or in progress or done. And then a card represents a particular work item. So you're basically moving one work item from one stage to another stage, right? Very simple and short. And then the swim lane refers to everything the collection of all the columns, basically, right? So that's it. So it's a way to visually represent stuff in a way that you can identify what work item, each work item is clearly defined, and it also has someone who is working on it. And so that's what we use even in, software development as it stands at this point in time, to help track work in progress or items or features or user stories. This is where it came from. If you ever see anybody using Jira or using all these tools to monitor work in progress, this is where it came from. And like I said, Scrum also borrowed from this too. So let's move on. When aiming to implement the Kanban method, every organization must be careful with the practical steps. So there are 6 core practices that are needed to be present for you to successfully implement Kanban. Great. So let's tackle them one after the other, right? These core practices are very, very important. And it's important to note that even though they are very important, you should understand that these items can still improve, can still evolve, right? It's like I said, you can manage how your team uses something, you can improve on it, you can create a tool or a system or a process that works for you. And that's why it still also emphasizes on leadership at the end of the day. So let's start from the first one, visualizing workflow. Visualizing workflow. To visualize your process with the Kanban system, you need a board with cards and columns, just like I explained earlier. This is just another version of the board. From what you can see here, each column represents a step. For example, this is requested, this is in progress, and this is done. Each Kanban card represents a work item. As you can see, this item is for John. John has been tagged to this. The task here has been written and is in a particular stage. The fact that you're able to visualize this can help you greatly because you can tell where what item is at any single point in time, and you will not be confused. You will not have issues understanding where any item is at any point in time. So like it said here, the Kanban board represents the actual state of your workflow with all the risk and all the specifications. Let's move on to the next slide. Next thing I said earlier in my explanation was limiting work in progress. I told you about not allowing too much to be in progress on a particular column. And so when you have that, I already explained what will happen and also what usually is the reason why you have that kind of situation. But the goal is to make sure that every single stage you understand what the work in progress limit should be. That, okay, if this particular stage or if this particular column reaches this particular number, it means there's a problem. You must understand your flow. You must understand your flow. You must understand how many will stay in a particular stage at any single point in time. So when it's over time, you get to understand each of the columns, and then you can now say, okay, for this particular column, we're not going to allow more than 3 work in progress items to be there at any point in time. So one of Kanban's primary function is to ensure that there's a manageable number of active items that are in progress at any single time. If there are no work in progress limits, you are not doing Kanban. So this work in progress is very, very important to Kanban. It helps to it's what you call this process, an empirical process too. Basically, empirical means you are using past data to understand how things work with your team and how many work in progress would you term as normal for a particular column. So you have to use that data to tell. So after, doing Kanban for a short while, you'll be able to understand what, would be your considerable or your desired flow for a particular board. So yeah, the goal is also to limit work in progress. Like I said, you can't allow anything to be exceeding in that particular column or any column that you have defined by yourself. Next one is managing flow, which is basically what I just said. You must be able to understand when you need to wait. There's a pull and push system. You don't put something in the next stage if you are not ready to handle it, if you don't feel like your capacity is enough to handle it. Then that's why I said that each of those columns has their limits. And the limit speaks to capacity, right? So managing flow is about managing the work, like I said earlier, not the people. And so by flow, we mean the movement of work items through the production process at a predictable and sustainable pace. Predictable, which refers to what I said. You must be able to use data to tell if this particular item, this particular column is in the right order, or we're having more pull, or we're having less push, and all of that. So by pull and push, I mean moving items from one stage to the other. So you have to manage the flow. Sorry, I'm really trying to be fast so that I can keep the time. The next step is to make processes and policies very explicit and clear. You can't improve something that you don't understand, right? So your processes should be clearly defined, should be published, documented, and allow people to interact with it, to see it, to read it, to give feedback on it as well. So people will not associate and participate in something they don't believe that will be useful. So it's also your job to make them understand. For example, you're working at your company and you want to change processes. You must be able to use data to tell them that, look, this is what happened over this time. And I do not think that is sustainable, because the goal is to find something that's sustainable, right? I do not think that's sustainable. And I think we should move in this direction. And you present your data, and that's how you make changes. But the goal here is to make sure that those changes and processes are very clear so that everybody understands what it is. All right, moving on to the next one, having feedback loops. For teams and companies that want to be agile, you must implement feedback loops so that you can get the appropriate feedback that can help you improve. So it's all about improving, right? So when you get feedback on time, you must also respond to that feedback by adapting and respond to the change, and make sure that there's knowledge transfer between people who are involved with this particular, whether it's project or product or whatever it is. You must make sure that you are able to get feedback, not just get feedback, work on that feedback in such a way that it will be useful to you. All right. So in Kanban, you have team replenishment meeting, you have team retrospective, you also have team Kanban meeting. They are just meetings where you are able to communicate, because communication is very important, where you're able to get feedback internally. So feedback loop should be both internal and external. Feedback from within people who are working on what you're working, and feedback from people who are using what you're building, right? All right. So retrospective is a way for you to go back and think about what has been done and ways by which you can improve. Meetings where you have feedback as well, the team Kanban meeting, team replenishment meeting. These are meetings that you also have as well. Moving on, the last one I think is to improve collaboratively. And the only way to achieve continuous improvement and sustainable change in an organization is through collaboratively implementing changes based on scientifically proven methods, feedback, and metrics. Like I said, it is very, very big on empirical methods, basically you using data to solve problems, to predict patterns, and to be able to respond to change and adapt quickly. You also need metrics as well. So they wrote scientifically here because the process of science is, we already know what science is about: getting feedback, creating hypotheses, testing hypotheses, publishing articles and all of that. So it's the same thing that happens also as well in Kanban methodology as well. So yeah, basically we're supposed to improve collaboratively. Let's move on to the next slide. So yeah, that's all about Kanban. I think I inserted a like how do I call it now? Like a class activity, but for some reason it's not showing. So I guess we just have to wait till the end, right? Okay, so the next one is another framework called Scaled Agile Framework. This is a framework that was developed to help scale Scrum. Unfortunately, we're not talking about Scrum today. And this methodology is very important, or this framework, rather. I think framework is a better word for that. This Scaled Agile framework is very important because of how much and how well it has been adopted, and how much of impact it has done and made to big companies that have teams of teams. And yeah, it's very, very popular right now. It's very, very hot, and a lot of people who are hiring and looking for people to do agile roles and product roles, they are looking for this certification. So we're not going to talk about it today too as well. It's going to be unlocked in the next class, so which is in about 2 weeks, right? So yeah, is it 2 weeks? I think it's yeah, I think it's 2 weeks. Favor, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and it is the next 2 weeks. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. The next 2 weeks. All right. So we'll talk about it in the next class. Let's move on. So we're going into project management tools. Like I said, this is very basic stuff. We're not here to rack anybody's brain or make anybody feel uncomfortable, or you've been unable to assimilate anything, but the goal is for you to be able to understand what I'm saying and get the message, like I said earlier. So we're already rounding up. We're talking about project management tools, right? So today we'll be talking about Trello as well. There are many project management tools, many tools. I think I'm going to even drop a link to where you can see them. There are about 20 in that link, I think 20 or more. Basically, these tools, because we are in the digital age and digital era, instead of having these boards, like physical boards where you can actually write stuff on and track work in progress, people have developed software that would help make this implementation very digital. So you can have your Kanban board on your phone, you can do it, you can check it on your laptop, you can cross collaborate with other members of your team in such a way that everybody can get to understand where every single item is at any single point in time. So Trello is a leading online project management software with built-in collaboration tools to work with your team. It's lightweight, it's simple, straightforward to use. It uses boards, lists, and cards. Just like I said, you can see it here. We have backlog, design, to do, doing. You can customize this thing to suit whatever work you're doing, whatever business that you have. You need to use this to effect or to provide value rather. Yeah, so it's very, very simple. I think if you have a startup and you are trying to build stuff, I think this is the easiest or the next best thing you can use. Yeah, so it's made by a company called Atlassian. So they have a how do I call it now? They have a group of software that they use to solve people's problems in the software development world. So yeah. Moving on to the next slide, we have Asana as well. Asana is also, and yeah, this is a Kanban system, by the way. Yeah, you can manage work in progress by clicking this. Oh, sorry. By clicking this item, you can say, okay, more than two items shouldn't be in one particular stage at any point in time, and all of that. So yeah, moving on to Asana, same thing, Kanban board, but they just have a peculiar design, but it's still based on the same principles, right? So Asana is a flexible project management tool with focus on collaboration. Like I said, they are all alike, and then there are different workflows. Some people have enabled automation, release management and all of that. So you can invite many people to come and collaborate with you. You have designers, software developers, QA engineers, security people, product managers. You can write user stories on these platforms and people can use it to collaborate. So when people say they are working from home, this is one of the tools that help them to effectively work together and improve collaboration, basically. So moving on, we have Zoho projects as well. You can see their tasks, issues, milestones, timesheet, expenses. Like I said, it's all about creating something that suits your particular situation. There are certain projects that this would help. For example, this will help project managers more than it will help product managers. So you have to understand what particular tool it is and what value it proposes to add to your own company or your own project or your own particular situation, right? So you need to understand where you are at as well. So we have Jira as well, which is the most popular project management tool, product management tool as well. They're both, you can use for both of them. Like in the team that I work with, we have a project manager who also kind of tracks timelines and creates like their own peculiar roadmap for special projects. So in Jira, you can create many projects. As you can see up here, this is one of the projects, Beyond Gravity. That's what's written here. And so because of this slash sign here, we have different projects that can be in that Jira board. So it's still the same Kanban board, like I said, different swim lanes, different status. And then what really makes it unique is the fact that you can add other extra modifications to each task. Modifications are clearly even further define what a particular task is supposed to be. So, and that's why I didn't touch on Scrum, I didn't touch on Scaled Agile Framework as well. So next week we'll speak more about that and how it's very useful to product managers and how it can make you be on top of the game and understand everything that is going on. And, I would also touch on backlog refinement as well in the next class and certain things that we need to understand when it comes to refining our backlog and, estimation and all of that. I know a lot of people are winging it. We're just trying to, manage it, but it's good for us to understand the real reason why these things were put in place in the first place. And this is it, to be honest. You might have just woken up and, joined some team and then they start explaining to you, this is what we use, this is what we use. But for you to really understand why it is used or what value it hopes to help with, that's what's most important. So, like I said, Jira is used for issue tracking by, more than 180,000 customers. By customers, this is businesses now, and these businesses have people that are using them. So in reality, there's a possibility that you have more than 20 million people using Jira every day. It's very possible. I don't know the date, I don't know the exact figures, but if you have 180,000 businesses, there's a possibility that you have that amount of people using it. So it's very, very, very popular, very useful. And it has been there for a very long time too. So some of the organizations that have used Jira at some point for bug tracking, project management. Okay, that's a typo. So organizations have used Jira for bug tracking, project management, and service management. So there are other features of Jira, that I would like us to go through, and I would like us to talk about, especially when it comes to service management. For example, when you have issues, maybe you're using Kuda or some app, or any app, for example, and then you have issues, and then you want to make a request for something to be done about it. There's a particular system embedded in Jira. It's a project that Jira has attached to a list of the products that it offers that helps people to solve problems by creating tasks that can be monitored in their own system. So that helps improve service delivery and service management, right? So let's just end this now. I want us to have like a Jira walkthrough, basically summarizing what Jira is about, the things you can do, and then we get to have the opportunity to also interact with work items and real life case scenarios. So we're going to do that next week. That's also locked as well. So I hope to I look forward to having a more interesting time next week where we would go through these things that have not been mentioned today. All right, thank you, everybody. I see a question in the chat, but I mean, that's all for me. Do we have any questions? So for today, this is what we have. I hope I've been able to share considerable, valuable knowledge. And please, I'm open to questions. So for the first question, will the slide for the program be made available and recording too? Absolutely, absolutely. Right after this, I think I'll share the link with Favor, and then we'll find a way to extract it and share with everyone. So yeah, that's it. Please, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it. Over to you, Favor.
Thank you very much, Olawale. And guys, let's just jump. Let's just have like a virtual clap if you can for the yes. Yeah, okay, I can see the claps coming in. And now it's time for questions. We have like about 2 things left. So most importantly, in 2 weeks' time, we'll continue this session 27th of August. First, that's my first announcement. Yes, someone's asking if I can get a note for this class. So if anybody jotted down anything and would like to share, sure, please reach out to me and I can, add it into the email I'll send for everybody in the feedback. The slides will be shared in an email feedback to everyone. And the recording is on our YouTube channel right now. You can go ahead to pick it up from there. I'll just share the link in the chat. So if you have any other questions about what has been taught today, you can ask your questions now. You can just raise your Zoom hands or just let me know in the chat or just unmute yourself. So raise your hands, unmute yourself. Let's hear from you if you have any questions for Olawale about the session.
Please feel free to ask questions, unmute your mic. Wow, we have 42 slides. Did I just go through 42 slides?
Yeah, I think you did.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Hello.
Hi, Tamua.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, thank you for that really insightful presentation, Olawale. In fact, I had a new look at Kanban boards when you explained it, because I actually didn't realize that it was that there was a lot of depth into Kanban boards until you started talking about it. So it really looks like something that I think one should really look into, especially managing the workflows, managing the number of tasks and all of those kind of things. Well, how would you recommend one builds that kind of proficiency on his own? Because I run a product development studio, and even for me right now, managing, using all of these, can I call them methodologies, all of these tools, like we talked about, Kanban, Scrum, and all of those things. There are things that we're looking to really impute into our process. But a lot of the times, as you said, when you are trying to build all of these processes, it's sometimes it's a struggle getting the whole team to come on board with it, because sometimes it slows them down, and even you too, it's like you're also figuring it out on the fly.
Absolutely.
So when something's becoming efficient, it's just like, well, let's just do it the way we've been doing this, Jerry. So how can one really build that kind of competence? Because if you're introducing something into it, you have to understand it like really, really well, so that you'll be able to cover from all of the gaps that might result. So how can one really go about that?
Great. So first of all, I'm very happy for this contribution that you made. You really just spoke my mind, because I don't want to say we have coconut head here in Nigeria, but it's very, very challenging bringing new ideas to people and helping them to adopt it. So they always want to be like, come and show your workings. Do you understand? Like, you're not going to just come here and tell us that this 1 + 1 is 2. What if it's 11? Do you get? Like, people are very, very
they are sentimentally, like, it's like they're egotistic about how they do things. So if you bring in something new, it's like you're telling them they don't know what they are doing or something like that.
Exactly. So you as a person, you need to fully soak yourself into understanding what you're doing and why it's even a thing in the first place. You need to go deep. Like I said, like I shared about this Kanban board, there was a problem. It started from somewhere. There's a reason why Toyota is the biggest automobile manufacturer right now in terms of amount of vehicle they've produced. Do you understand? There was a problem that needed to be solved, and so they were able to create that way of eliminating waste. So what they did was eliminating waste. So if you're talking about using Kanban, what should be at the back of your mind should be eliminating waste. There's no time for waste of time. There's no time for waste of resources. There's no time to waste time, basically. So you have to understand. So when you're explaining it to these people, bring in examples of companies that have used this. You can use Toyota as an example. You can use other companies that also do this thing to explain to them, to tell them the value that they are going to get from doing this. And then, like I said, people like showing workings, right? You yourself must be able to answer any question that they have. There's something peculiar about Kanban, which is work in progress, right? So if you are having something blocking you, you are going to waste time. Do you get? And so compare it to what you have. Sorry, can anyone see me?
Yes, we can see you. Go ahead.
So compare it to what you have, like in the company you are working currently. Do a comparison and contrast and show them that, look at you guys, you can do better, but this is where you are. Only if you take on this, only if you improve on this way, only if you do this, can you be able to move forward. So I think that's a better approach to helping people to move forward with it. So there are people that are very receptive. There are some that are not. Like me, when I started doing Scrum, like I think in Lagos, there are probably like only like, they're not up to 10 openings of Scrum Master that I saw. I think 5 said that I was able to see because I was constantly searching. And the truth was that there are some people that were working in companies that were fighting this battle. Now you're hearing Scrum Master everywhere, Scrum Master everywhere. Oh, hire this, hire that. But there were some people that did the work underground, that, make it easy for people to become Scrum Masters today or to become product managers today. Before, if you're working in InterSwitch, maybe like 10, 12 years ago, who agile what are you talking about? Do you understand? Things begin to change when people are able to convince management that this process can help improve their ways and understanding it, basically. Yeah, I hope I didn't take too much time with that. Thanks.
Thank you for your explanation. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Hi,
great.
Samuel. I think Samuel's hands are raised.
Yeah, hello.
Akwaba.
Thank you. So I enjoyed the session, and it's an eye-opener for me. I work in quality management with an airline, but I've been, dabbling with tech for a while, and I feel like this is a time for me to take this thing serious, So, and I feel like the line of work that I've told for a while has been around project management / product management, So, but I had a question because it may be similar to the question the previous persons asked, but I'm thinking, okay, when it comes to use of these softwares, the project management softwares like Trello and Jira, in my experience with similar software that we use at work, I noticed that we end up spending a lot of time trying to update the software and track things there. And it feels like a distraction to the work proper, like things that need to be done. And so it's like, how do you balance that? And my second question is, I think I was reading online someplace, and I see that there's a lot of prioritization framework, like there's a talk like that in product, and then they mention RISE, DIE, Eisenhower, matrix and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, where do those come in here? Is that something we'll be exposed to later, or it really has nothing to do with product per se? It's not like instrumental to your product journey. I wanted to know.
All right, thank you very much for your question. So the first one is talking about having that balance. The truth is that the reason why there's a lot of back and forth in updating and using the software to solve your problems or to make your processes visible, the real problem is the fact that you don't have the right person doing it. Maybe who is doing it is winging it. But that's really why you should take time, because these things are very, very super easy, super fast to do. I can create a task in like 10 seconds. When I'm giving stand-up updates, I can come and share my update. And as I'm talking, someone is moving my task from one stage to another. So next week, I'm still going to deep dive into some of these methods that we're talking about, prioritization, estimation, all those additions to that product management process or project management process in this case. So a lot of teams use Scrum, a lot of teams use Kanban, a lot of teams use Scrum and Kanban. But the truth is that these particular teams have their reasons for using these models, right? For example, for Kanban, you can use Kanban for software development that is very, very minimal, right? When it comes to something very small, you can choose to use Scrum as well. When you're dealing with things that are large, lots of requirements, and you want to be able to deliver value within a very short period of time because you have too many requirements. That's when you go to Scrum, right? And so for DevOps now, where you have just tasks that you'll be doing daily, maybe DevOps, deploy this, deploy that, task where you cannot really predict, the work that will come in. That's where you use Kanban, right? That's in terms of software development. So it's good for us to really understand, what is peculiar to our situation and why we're doing it. So next week, I'll talk about this prioritization, estimation. All these things come into Scrum. So that's why I didn't really emphasize more on that. There are also some that are not in Scrum, but I will also still talk about that next week. So for your team, make sure that you hire the right person who knows about, that particular tool, because the truth is that in Agile, the value is in, what do I call it again? The one that speaks to processes, values of, what did I say last time again? Individuals and interactions rather, over processes and tools. The value is supposed to be placed on individuals and interaction, not over tools, not on tools rather. There's nothing stopping you from having tools that work for you, but you're not supposed to work for the tools, right? The tools are supposed to help you to make your processes better. So if the tool is a problem, then find the right person who can solve that problem, who can handle it, who can create projects, who can monitor everything for you, and then you will not have a problem. I also have a question for you. Is someone still here? Hello,
Yeah, I'm here.
someone. So did I really speak to your question?
Yeah, I guess that answers it in a way. Yeah.
Don't worry, come next class. I'll be ready.
Yeah,
So
certainly.
I have a question for you. So can you say Akwaaba for me, please?
Oh, okay. Traditionally, because of the way we pronounce it, it's supposed to be AKWAABA. But I noticed because of the Ivorian influence, there's like this cross-cultural thing. There are a few tribes in Ivory Coast that speak a similar tongue. So they use one A in the middle. So you see some people spell it AKWABA, but primarily it should be AKWAABA.
Okay, can you pronounce it?
Akwaaba.
Akwaaba.
Yeah.
So speaking of that cross-cultural influence, it's similar to, and it means welcome, right?
Exactly.
Very good. It's similar to what we have in Yoruba. For example, if you want to say welcome in Yoruba, you say Akwabo. Do you understand? So,
oh, really? Interesting.
Yes, and it means the exact same thing. Welcome. So, in a way, there's this cross-functional, cross-cultural influence, like you said, and it's something I just got out right now, to be honest.
Wow.
But it's all good though. Yeah, thank you. So I look forward to seeing you next week. I'm expecting you basically. So any other questions? Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much once again.
Can I ask one quick question, please?
Yes, Tomiwa, please go ahead.
Yeah. How can one build like technical competence in all of these methodologies I talked about that we're discussing, Kanban, Scrum, and the rest? So I've realized, because I've also attended quite a couple of trainings, but translating them into like real life scenarios and real life competence is not always direct. It's one thing to understand something conceptually, and it's another to be able to impact your immediate situation with that knowledge that you have. So I'm always wondering, okay, out of all of these trainings, out of all of these classes, how can one build that kind of solid competence, that okay, you'll be able to impact things positively?
Great. So the best way to do that is to, I'll just talk about two things. The first thing I always say is to create an environment for you to practice. You might not get that internship, you might not get that role immediately, especially for people who are just starting out. But you being able to come, create teams, and start practicing what you're learning, it helps you to build competence. And also joining community of practice. So for example, if you know that you're going to be a Scrum Master, you join communities of practice or Scrum Masters. Same thing with product managers as well. There you can build competence by listening to people who are doing this thing on a daily basis. You can gain direct experience. You can ask them direct questions, and that will help build competence. But another one, which I always used to emphasize, is understanding the point of the whole thing. What is the whole point? Like thinking deeply, going back down and asking yourself, where did this originate from? Why? And there's something called fishbone diagram. It's also Japanese. They call it Ishikawa. Basically, it's asking 5 whys. They believe that when you ask why 5 times, you'll be able to find the root cause of almost any problem. So, for example, you get home and you realize that your laptop is not on the table. You ask yourself, oh, why? Why is my laptop not on the table? Eventually, you figure it out. You say, okay, maybe your sister took it out or something. And then you ask why. Why did your sister take it out? And then you meet your sister, ask her, why did she take it out? She said, okay, there was water on the table. And why was water on the table? You ask that why again. Eventually, if you're talking about real life problems, when you ask why 5 times, you'll be able to figure out the main purpose of what you're doing. And so building competence will really revolve around you being able to ask the right questions and understand the purpose of whatever it is you want to build competence in. So you can now be like a body of knowledge on your own, and you can create your own pattern, your own way. Just like I use Spotify as an example. They created an agile process for themselves because they understood the whole point of being agile. So they were looking at the whole point of everything, which was being able to deliver fast, being able to deliver value, being able to inspect, being able to adapt, and being able to continuously improve. So they just found out a way that works for them. So it's those key things I just mentioned that really need to be at the back of your mind whenever you want to build competence in this particular area, or any, for example, but you just being able to find out what it is, really. So yeah, I think that basically speaks to it.
Yeah, I think that was good. Thank you. I'll keep all of those points in mind. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Chinua.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I really enjoyed the class. It was quite enlightening. Though I'm still new, I'm trying to transition into product management. But I want to ask, please, where do product managers and project managers meet? As in, what's that point where they meet and work together? I don't know if it's something you address in the next class, but it's just something I'm really curious about. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Chinua, for bringing that up. I'm happy that you said that. So you see all those things that I put padlock on in the slides. That's where it refers to. So, for example, Scrum framework, the way we explain it, it will be in such a way you would understand where you stand as a product manager, whether you're a developer or you're anybody that any position that you take in the development team, I'll be able to show you your position and how you interact, the things that you need to do, the kind of ceremonies that we would be having so that we can interact and collaborate together. So yes, I'm happy that you spoke about, your experience and just, coming in. And that's why I try to make this first class to be as simple as possible so that everybody gets the whole first idea. And then in the next class, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. So I'll talk about these things and address the questions that you have. So just keep it tab and keep it locked till then. Thanks for your question.
Thank you. I look forward to that.
Nice. Yeah. I was trying to keep to time, that's why. So, but it's all good. Hi, Favor. Are we good? Hello, Favor, are you there? Hello, Favor. Okay, I'm guessing he is frozen out, the network. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really glad and grateful that everyone could be here and we're able to share and ask questions. Oh, sorry, I just want to be sure if I'm not the only one talking. Can someone just say hello? I think I'm the only one that's... Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay, so yes, till next week, please look out for the announcement. I think it's going to be the same link. I'm not very certain, but just follow Treford on Twitter and on LinkedIn, all platforms. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to share and rub minds with everybody. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next event. Cheers. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thanks, Raima. Thanks, Ayobami. Thanks, Deepo. Thanks, Chinma. Thanks, Lukaya. All right, see you at the next one. Bye, guys. Hello, Favor, are you there? Are you there now? Okay. Favor, I'm unable to hear you. Are you still talking? I was wondering why it went off. All right. Bye, guys. Samuel, I'll learn new words. Although I know it's probably not the same culture and all of that, but I mean, oh, okay, I have to mute. Sorry. Favor, I'm unable to do that. But I have made you the host back. So yes, I think you are the host now.